Today I'm going to show you how to build Ethernet cable. We're going to be working with Cat5e unshielded twisted pair. We're also going to need several tools. I have a stripping tool, a crimper, diagonal cutters, and an RJ45 connector. To start with, I'm going to come about 1.5 inches down my cable, and I'm going to use the stripping tool to cut off some of this blue outer jacket. For this particular stripping tool, I'm going to use the second notch, but if you have a stripping tool that is a little bit tighter, you might have to use the first notch. But you just want to use one that is not going to cut too far through. It should just be cutting through the outer jacket. When I use this tool, I spin it around one time only, and then unclip it, and that should have been enough to easily remove the outer jacket. Before I go any further, I'm going to carefully inspect and make sure that my stripping tool didn't damage any of the insulation underneath. If I see any copper showing through on any of these edges, then I'm going to have to start again. It looks all clear, so I'm going to move forward. You'll see when you look inside this cable that it has 4 pairs of twisted wires. That's why it's called unshielded twisted pair. So these 4 pairs of wires, we're going to have to untwist them and arrange them in a specific order in order to make our network cable function. So to start with, we'll just untwist them. This is the blue stripe and the blue wire. Here's an orange stripe and an orange wire. I have a green stripe and a green wire. And I have a brown stripe and a brown wire. You might also notice that there's this thread. It's like white stranded thread that is running through the cable. You can also use it to help you strip down cable if you don't have this stripping tool. But right now it's probably going to get in my way, so I'm just going to clip it off so that it's not bothering me. So the next thing that I have to do is I have to arrange these wires in a specific order, which I will post for you. So the order is orange stripe orange, green stripe blue, blue stripe green, brown stripe brown. So I'm going to start arranging them, and I'm just going to hold with my thumb so that they don't get out of position while I'm doing it. So orange stripe orange, green stripe blue, blue stripe green, and brown stripe brown. Okay, this is the order that I want them to be in. I'm going to grab hold of them so that they don't switch position with each other, and I'm starting to bring them towards each other. Try not to cross them over or change their order. And what I want is for them to lie very flat all beside each other in perfect little columns. When I'm trying to flatten out wires, if you're having difficulty getting them nice and straight, maybe they have some bends in them, bending the wire back and forth softens up the metal inside because it heats it up, makes it more malleable. So if you bend it a few times, you should be able to get them lying down nice and smoothly beside each other. Double check that you still have the right order: orange stripe orange, green stripe blue, blue stripe green, brown stripe brown. Next step is I'm going to cut off the ends of the wire so that I have approximately 1/2 inch of wire overhanging here. Be careful, if you've pulled back on the jacket, you might find that you end up with too short of wires underneath. So just make sure you have about 1/2 inch, because what you need is for these wires to come up underneath the RJ45 clip, and they have to reach all the way up to the end of this window. When I use the diagonal cutters, notice that one side is concave, the other side is nice and flat. I'm going to hold this side towards myself so that I can see exactly where I'm cutting. If I do it the other way around, I run the risk of cutting things on an angle, and then I might have to cut it again. The big trick here when you're cutting these wires is don't cut too short, because if you cut too short and it ends up not fitting in the clip, you have to start again. If I make them a little bit too long, I can always trim off a little bit more, and it's not going to waste me any time. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut these off. We'll throw those in the garbage in a minute. So I've got my end ready, ending my colors with brown stripe brown, I'm going to hold my clip with the clip side down. See how it has a little clip here? I'm going to make sure that is facing down. And then I'm going to slide the wires into my connector, trying to keep them straight and make sure that each one goes into its own slot. I'm going to double check again to make sure in the back window of my RJ45 connector, make sure that my colors are still in the same order: orange stripe orange, green stripe blue, blue stripe green, brown stripe brown. There's always a stripe and then a solid. If you notice two stripes in a row or two solids in a row, then that means just pull it out and rearrange them and put them back in the correct order. The other thing that I want to make sure is that this blue jacket is coming right up underneath the strain relief clip. So you'll notice here there's a clip. This is meant to grab onto the blue jacket of your network connector so that it really holds onto it and that you're not holding the entire weight of your cable just by the teeth on these connectors at the end. If you look closely at the connector, you can also see the gold teeth that are in position to bite into those wires. Those wires have to come all the way up to the end of that window in order for those teeth to be able to connect in. Here's a good view of how the wires should look when they're right up against the back window. So now I'm ready to put this into my crimper. The crimper has two sides to it. One of these sides has little labels on it that says 8P and 6P. The other side actually says nothing at all. If you stick it in the wrong side, it's going to get stuck in there and it's not going to work properly. So 6P is for crimping phone cable. 8P is for crimping network cable, so we're going to stick it into this slot here. And I'm going to continue pushing it into the crimper while I squeeze the crimper so that I don't accidentally have the cable come loose and then crimp in the wrong spot. So push down, squeeze with the crimper. You should have heard a little clicking sound. That means that it actually bit into the wires. And then we let go. And then again, I can double check, make sure that my colors are all good. All the wires should be right up to the end of the window. And also give it a good tug to make sure that it's not loose. If it's loose, I didn't crimp it hard enough, and I have to start again. This is a cable testing tool. Once you've completed both ends of your network cable, you can plug them into the testing tool, and it will tell you for each one of your wire connections whether it has a good connection or not. You have 8 pairs, so there are 8 LEDs that we are hoping will light up to tell us that we've built this correctly. So when I turn this on, I just let it start a fresh cycle. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So all my pairs are good. If one of those lights didn't light up, that would tell me that I made a mistake, and I would have to inspect the ends and figure out which one needed to be redone.